By now, probably every federal employee knows that there's a change in government and it's affecting everybody. And one of the things that's happening is things are happening much quicker. As an example, and the one thing that affects most federal employees, because you have to make a decision and you have to make it quickly, there is a buyout, or as some people prefer to call it, including OPM, a deferred resignation. Several people wrote in and said, don't call it a buyout. That's not accurate. This isn't a buyout. Well, it's true in the sense of it's not a VERA, it's not a VSIP, but the government is offering to pay you money, 8 months of salary, where you don't have to work, uh, and you get all your benefits, and you could even work for another employer in that period of time if you want to. So I thought buyout covered it would be more meaningful to the few 100,000 federal employees who have joined the workforce since the government last had buyouts, that is VSIPs or VERAs. So for this purpose, I'm going to refer to deferred resignation, since that's what some people seem to be concerned about. The reason that this is happening fast, or a couple of reasons. First, you have to have indicated your desire to resign from the government, if that's what you intend to do, by February 6th. And it covers most of the government. And I did a video on buyouts, actually just a few days ago, and predicted buyouts would be coming. I hadn't thought of deferred resignation. And when I said it would happen fast, I really thought it would happen fast in, say, 2 or 3 months. Not three days, I think, since the video first came out. Once the email came out from OPM, and when I say it came out from OPM, they've set up a system that is also new and that allows OPM and probably the president or some other officials to send out a simultaneous email to all federal employees, presumably all 2.1 million, give or take. So people got it that way. And as soon as it went out, it shouldn't have been more than a few minutes, I got an email. I didn't know what the person was talking about, saying, is this a scam? Is OPM really doing this? Or is this from somebody pretending to be OPM? Well, at the time, I didn't know about it. I found out very quickly, this is what's going on. And essentially what is happening is the government is saying, and by the government, I'm talking about President Trump, OPM, and some other folks, and that the federal government anticipates that 5 to 10% of federal employees will take this deferred resignation offer. And that would be in the neighborhood of 200,000 people leaving. And what they're saying is that the workforce requirements are going to change. President Trump was on TV last night saying federal employees are being directed to go back to work in an office, not at their house or wherever else they may be. They have to go to an office. Now, there's probably several problems with that. One might be space, etc. But what they're saying is the workforce environment is going to change. And basically what they're referring to is return to work in the office. The government is going to have a high performance culture with enhanced performance standards. Employees will be working as a downsized workforce, and you're going to be facing RIFs, furloughs, and reclassification, what in the past has been called Schedule F, as part of the working environment, and enhanced standards of conduct that the government intends to enforce. So what they're saying is, and we have known for some time, President Trump wants all federal employees to go back to working in an office and not at home. Now, obviously, several problems have come up with that, including unions negotiating contracts with the help of Biden administration appointees to put in union contracts that you've got the right to telework as you have been since COVID started. The terms, I'm sure, vary according to the contract, but basically most of them say you've got this right and it's going to last until President Trump's term expires, so you don't have to go back to work in an office. My advice, the first advice would be, if you're given a direct order to go back to work in an office and you don't want to go, if you want to keep your job without being terminated, you need to go back to work in the office. That doesn't mean you won't get to go back to telework at some point, especially if the union contract contains that provision. The government, OPM, is being pretty cautious in sending out notices to agencies, and typically they'll say something like, depending upon your union contract. So they may be coming out with more guidance in the future. I suspect they will. In the meantime, if you get a direct order and you disobey it, you could be terminated by the government just for disobeying the order. Whether you're right on everything else or not doesn't make any difference. They give you an order, you disobey it, they can prove they gave you the order. Chances are you're going to be fired. You can be fired. You don't want that to happen. In addition to that, what's happening is as soon as this email went out, a number of people were commenting on the OPM guidance that was coming out and basically saying it's not comprehensive, it's not really explanatory, it doesn't cover a lot of things, and a lot of it we think is contradictory. So I didn't know this was going to happen. I'm not surprised. More information has now come out from OPM. I happened to see it. They have FAQs on the internet, so I looked this morning, and they've modified some of these guidelines that I think will be helpful and answer some of the questions that a lot of people have. And in looking at it, I think OPM is trying to be very direct, create no more misunderstandings than they could possibly do. So I'm just going to read several of the things that they put in that I think will answer many of your questions. First, am I expected to work at my government job during the deferred resignation period? The answer they give is one word: no. In effect, you're not expected to work at your government job during the deferred resignation period. I'm guessing they thought the one-word answer was sufficient, and that's pretty direct. Am I allowed to get a second job during this resignation period? Absolutely. We encourage you to find a job in the private sector as soon as you would like to do so. The way to greater American prosperity is by encouraging people to move from lower productivity jobs in the public sector to higher productivity jobs in the private sector. I'm just reading that. That's the OPM guidance. Will I really get my full pay and benefits during the entire period through September 30th, even if I get a second job? Yes. Okay, the answer is yes. You'll also accrue further personal leave days, vacation days, etc., and be paid out for the unused leave at the final resignation date. Can I take an extended vacation on administrative leave? You are most welcome to stay at home and relax, or to travel to your dream destination. Do whatever you would like. And finally, am I eligible for early or normal retirement during the deferred resignation period, that is, before September 30th? Will I be able to accept deferred resignation and still accept retirement during the deferred resignation period? Yes. You will continue to accrue retirement benefits during the deferred resignation period. If you elect to retire, either early or normal retirement, before your final resignation date, your retirement election will override the deferred resignation. So, to OPM's credit, they seem to be trying to answer those questions directly, simply be straightforward about it, and to alleviate some of the comments or complaints that have come in. And when I say comments or complaints, it's not all negative. Most of it is, but the reason I say that, FedSmith published an article several days ago, actually the morning after this email went out, and again this morning. And this morning we put up another article on, again, deferred resignation, but incorporating the clarified guidance that's come out from OPM. So I went to look at the comments within the first 5 minutes after we posted the article. The email that we typically send out hadn't gone out yet, but people saw it. And here's what the first several people said. Tell all your existing and continuing employees they do a low productivity job. Great motivational leadership skills. He really does think he's running another Twitter. I'm not sure if they're primarily referring to President Trump or Elon Musk, who's now head of DOGE, D-O-G-E, Department of Government Efficiency, but it's not a positive comment. The king of debt says, unless it's backed up with a letter from your agency head or the HR department, I would be very skeptical. John Murphy says in response, the other caveat is that we're under a CR until March 17th. What happens if budget cuts harm your agency or office? And finally, Federal One says, I suspect this offer will come up short on Fed government takers. If the offer was such a great deal, why didn't OPM coordinate with all the agencies, provide webinar training, more lead time to the open offer period to build a modicum of trust? Nameless, faceless emails are the only communication strategy. We shall see. So, at least the initial reaction was negative. I'm sure that some people will see it in a different way, but there we are. Perhaps the most negative comment, and certainly the most interesting, was published by a person who's anonymous. I don't know who it is, but he says, I'm a current employee at OPM. This is a throwaway account. I'm posting this because people need to know what's going on at OPM. And he said that OPM has been compromised and taken over. The very backbone of American government, the HR of all HR in government, has been taken over by outside politicals. They have pushed aside dozens of non-political career civil servants who were there to protect the civil service from becoming the president's henchmen. And he goes on to give a name where he says, this was a low-level branch chief. He's the friendliest yes man you'll ever meet. He never says no. And now he's the acting director. And he said, in the meantime, a person who was a career federal employee, he gives a name, but I'm not going to give it, was pushed aside just 1 week into his tenure because he refused to set up an email list to send out direct communications to all career civil servants, which is, of course, how you receive this email notification about deferred resignation. Such communications are normally left up to each agency. This was not done internally. Someone literally walked into our building, plugged in an email server to our network to make it appear emails were from OPM. It's been the one sending out these various test messages. I think they're building a massive list of all federal employees to generate mass rift notices down the road. The non-political civil servants at OPM are watching helplessly as we're being systematically dismantled. So obviously there are a number of unhappy federal employees who are voicing their opinion strongly on the social media. Personally, and a lot of people have said various things, and of course, in part what's happening is the unions and a number of individuals are generating controversy. Some of the unions are telling people, don't take this deferred resignation. Some other advice is be very careful. You may not want to take this. We don't think OPM has the legal authority to do it. There's no guarantee you'll get the money. This may be a trick by Elon Musk and some others who are working for him to trick you, as they claim at least, Twitter employees were treated, where you promise something, you leave, and then you don't get the money, you don't get the time off, you don't get the accrued benefits. I don't have any inside information from OPM. I don't have any inside information from the unions. I have been a former OPM employee for a number of years. I was a government employee for a number of years. I started and ran a federal government training, publishing, temporary services contract for the government for a number of years. And I gradually, over the various viewpoints, had very good experiences with the government, both as an employee and as a contractor. Generally, when the government talks to its employees and said, this is what's going to happen, it did. There may be some misunderstandings, but by and large, I was always treated, and my colleagues always seemed to be treated very fairly by the government. I have no reason to think that's changed. I suppose if I was still working for the government and I felt, as some of these people do, that they're lying to me, they're tricking us, they're not treating us fairly, they're going to make us or try to make us take this deferred resignation, and then they're going to stick it to us later. If that's how I felt, I would probably take the offer, leave, get another job, if that's what I wanted to do, unless I were eligible to retire. Because you don't want to work for a company or an organization, the government in this case, that you don't respect, that you think doesn't respect you, because you're not going to be happy, you're not going to be productive, and probably the management doesn't want you there if that's how you feel. On the other hand, it seems like a pretty good offer. You're getting potentially 8 months of salary. You can take a vacation, go on a dream trip, stay at home and watch The View if you want to do that. That's what the guidance says. I have no reason to think it's not true. However, it's a complex process. By that, I mean everybody's different. your situation is going to be different than your colleagues. You may be younger, you may be older, you may be eligible to retire, you may be 20 or 30 years away from retirement. You may have invested in the TSP, and maybe you're one of the TSP millionaires. Maybe you're just starting out, you have a family, new child, new children, money is really tight, you don't want to take a chance, you can't get a job. Those are the kind of factors you want to consider. It's complex enough. And FedSmith is not a financial advisor. We will not tell you what to do. There are financial advisors you can sit down with that would help guide you through and make suggestions you can accept or reject and try to give you a good feel for what your financial situation will be. And should you consider carrying on in your federal career, or should you leave and take up another career? Or, as some people have said, just go into retirement. One reader commented, he said, I retired several weeks ago. I wish I had known this was coming. I'm very envious of those that have this opportunity. I didn't have it. I wish I had. I'd have taken it in a minute because it's a great deal. I can't see why anybody wouldn't take it, especially if they're eligible to retire. So there's a variety of opinions. I don't pretend to understand OPM's motivation other than what they're saying. I don't pretend to understand. I have no inside information on what the union's motivation is. It could be they don't like losing dues-paying members. It could be they don't like President Trump or anything he stands for. It could be they're just looking out for your interest as a federal employee, and they don't think, if they're urging you not to take this offer, maybe they have other reasons they think that you shouldn't take it because it's not going to be a good move for you. In any event, you have to make a decision. You have to make it by February 6th. Under the OPM guidance, you can request the deferred resignation at a later time. There is no guarantee you'll get it, and they don't have to give it to you. So if you think this is a good move, if it's a good deal for you, take it. I admit in the last 50 years, I don't recall ever seeing an offer like this being made. It's because the government wants to downsize. They do want to bring in some other employees, I'm sure. They're going to reduce the size of some federal agencies. They may try through Congress to eliminate some federal agencies, and I can guess, as people watching this can guess, which agencies those would be. And in fact, that's another consideration. If you're working at education, EPA, some other agencies that have been singled out for criticism or possible closure or massive reorganization, then that might be a factor in your decision to defer your resignation and leave now. But it's a tough decision. We wish all of you the best of luck. We thank you for watching this video. Please check back because we'll be posting more as events occur. We urge people through our website to sign up for the newsletter that is available. It's free. Sign up for the subscription list on YouTube to see these videos as they come out. We'll try to keep you informed, and we hope you find these useful, maybe not enjoyable, but hopefully useful. Thank you for watching.